This is Livingstone City, the tourist town of Zambia. From the 21st to 26th of August 2022, the city played host to over 400 delegates from across the globe under the organization of the Zambian government, the Ministry of Education, and the Examinations Council of Zambia ECZ. Delegates came mainly from Southern, Western, Central, and Eastern African countries, including North America, Europe, and Asia. Among the delegates were test developers, administrators, curriculum specialists, researchers, and educationists, all gathered in Livingstone to attend the 38th Association for Educational Assessment in Africa AEAA Conference, whose theme was Educational Assessment for Developing 21st Century Skills. The Examinations Council of Zambia ECZ was pleased and honored to host this prestigious annual event. True to what Zambia is known for, delegates were warmly treated to a welcome dinner. On the first day of the conference, and for the first time, training workshops were held in corporate governance facilitated by Ambassador Mumba Kapumpa and Mr. Dani Luswili. Professor Zako Vukmirovic facilitated the psychometrics in educational assessment training. During the official opening, learners from different schools within Livingstone were a part of the official opening of the conference and provided various performances in dance, singing, and poems. The official opening was also graced by the presence of the Mayor of Livingstone, Her Worship Constance Muliabai, Senior Chief Mukuni of the Tokalea speaking people, various government officials, and the Minister of Education, Honorable Douglas Siakalima, MP, who represented His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, as guest of honor. In welcoming the delegates, the mayor pointed the delegates to some of the tourist attractions in Livingstone City.
As the Chief Marketing Officer for Livingstone, I urge all our delegates to take time and sample our tourist attraction sites that the city offers, namely the Might Victoria Falls, the Musotunya National Park, the Curio Markets, the Big Five, as well as the Livingstone Museum. Once again, I welcome you to the beautiful city of Livingstone.
The start of this high-profile event was characterized by messages that inspired many to think about education and assessments differently.
Education is what you get known to be once you have forgotten those formulas and other things you memorize in class. What does it call for? It calls for 21st century skills. It calls for our ability to critically think, our ability to be innovative, our ability to adjust our practices, our ability to be able to stay afloat despite the tides. So I want to think that we have tried to prepare, and I want to think that our delegates from all over have come prepared to present and to share experiences, and we have an opportunity this post-COVID era to look at what countries have done, what countries have been able to innovate in order to achieve the much needed assessment, and in order for us to remain with a vision and mission of being able to support our education systems as may be required by society.
Assessment plays a vital role in ensuring that individuals truly possess the skills and competencies required. Without assessment, placement of individuals with required competencies in the world of work would be left to chance. The 21st century requires individuals who must possess learning skills literacy skills, and life skills, and an individual who will remain competitive in the modern job market, and an individual who must possess mental processes, who must be technologically sound and endowed with intangibles such as flexibility, initiative, productivity, and social skills to enable them to improve both personal and professional space in this modern society.
The Association for Educational Assessment in Africa President, Mr. Patrick Arrigan, had this to say.
It is with great joy, sense of responsibility, and gratitude to the Almighty God that I welcome our distinguished delegates to the much-awaited 38th Annual Conference of the Association for Educational Assessment in Africa, AEAA, being hosted by the Examinations Council of Zambia at the prestigious Avani Waterfalls Resort, Livingstone, Zambia. It gives me immense pleasure to be standing in front of you all to deliver this welcome address. Dear delegates, I am delighted that you have chosen to be part of this year's conference with the theme Educational Assessment for Developing 21st Century Skills, where trends, innovations, and development of assessment with 21st century skills will be discussed with a view to fostering best educational practices and learning among students, scholars, and instructors. Above all, let us be reminded that we are gathered here in order to help Africa achieve an overall development in education, as it has become imperative for examining bodies and all stakeholders to be innovative in developing educational and assessment skills in the 21st century. It is my most sincere belief that with our relentless endeavors, this conference will help Africa take its rightful place in the educational sphere globally.
The world is digital literacy. Africa needs leadership. The communities need creativity. The curriculum needs critical thinking. And the people need communication. Young people need flexibility, collaboration, and media literacy. Oh yes, we know. Education is the key to success. But to attain this, we need to take education closer to the people.
The senior chief of the Tokalea people also gave his remarks.
Delegates of the AEAA, am aware that this conference will discuss matters to do with education and examinations. I therefore implore you to have successful discussions and ensure that the welfare of the African child as it pertains to education is adequately addressed. Education is close to my heart, and I take keen interest in ensuring every child receives the right education, not only in my chiefdom, but in the country as a whole.
The guest of honor affirmed the conference theme as having been appropriate to address both current and future educational demands of society and industry.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege for me to be here today to officially open the 38th Conference of the Association for Educational Assessment in Africa. When we reflect on the challenges facing our education system today, you will agree with me that the conference, whose theme is, and quote, educational assessment for developing 21st century skills, could not have come at a better time than now. In order for a learner, an entrepreneur, or employee to excel in the current situation, they need to exhibit critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and other 21st century skills. They need to demonstrate digital and media literacy in this information age. We need to ensure that the education we offer remains relevant, to the current and future demands of society and industry. Before we certify them, we need to appropriately assess the extent to which our learners, school leavers, and graduates possess the much needed 21st century skills for them to thrive now and in the future. I have no doubt that the heart of each one of us present here today is the desire for Africa to provide quality education for all our citizens, including those in remote areas of our various countries and those with disabilities. I'm therefore confident that this gathering of assessment experts and professionals will find answers to the many challenges of the 21st century society. I'm sure that you will share your best practices, research findings, and experiences from which each country will devise strategies to ensure that education systems embrace the teaching and earning of the 21st century skills and assessment systems that will appropriately assess their learners to confirm levels of development and the skills in their learners, school leavers, and graduates. Since August 2021, when our government led by the United Party for National Development was ushered in office, we have demonstrated our commitment to our plan to ensure that all Zambians have access to quality education. Some of our achievements in the past 12 months that demonstrate our commitment are the following. 1, we have implemented free education from early childhood, primary and secondary education by abolishing fees in public schools. All children can attend school without being harassed for non-payment of fees. 2, we have abolished examination fees for all our learners in the public and aided schools. All children who are eligible to sit for the examinations can do so without barriers. 3, we have introduced a bursary scheme for learners in technical and other colleges who cannot afford to pay fees. And 4, we have recruited 30,496 teachers, and this will translate into better teaching, learning, and assessment because the teacher-pupil ratio will reduce while there will be more personnel to assess the learners and finally mark the examinations. 5, we have developed a draft education policy and implementation plan which will guide the reforms of our education system, including assessment and examination systems. We intend to have the new policy approved by the end of the year to ensure that we remain in tandem with our vision for education to support our human capital development plans in our 8th National Development Plan. And 6, we have embarked on evaluating our current curriculum to ascertain its viability before embarking on the curriculum review process. 7, we have embarked on a consultative process to develop an advanced A-level qualification as a way to realign our education system to international standards. This is part of the education reforms which are aimed at ensuring that our school leavers and graduates continue to be well respected and recognized worldwide. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we are therefore proud to host the AEAA Conference for the 4th time. We have held the presidency of this prestigious association 3 times and the position of Executive Secretary, which is Chief Executive Officer position of the association twice. I now hereby declare the 38th Conference of the Association for Educational Assessment in Africa officially opened.
Lezawane.
nikusalifiane mwana wako weleza muzima. Nikusalifiane mwana wako weleza muzima. Leza wane nikusalifiane mwana wako weleza muzima. Leza wane nikusalifiane mwana wako weleza muzima. Leza wane nikusalifiane mwana wako weleza muzima.
During the breakaway sessions, various paper presentations dealing with the 7 sub-themes were addressed, and the delegates found the sessions informative.
We are advocating for an introduction of a different type of exam, which is the core examination alongside the extended exam.
And we are also recommending that the Ministry of Education, through the Examinations Council of Zambia, work to promote the meticulous implementation of the curriculum by using the OCRIS, which is the online candidate registration system, to ensure that schools implement the pathways as prescribed.
How we can align the curriculum and assessment and teaching in the 21st century towards educational assessment. That is a major problem. And I want to pray that at the end of this year's conference, the 38th AEAA Conference, we are going to harness a lot of resolutions and conclusions that we can plug back to our educational system and examination bodies in the respective countries. I give kudos to Zambia. I give kudos to the Examinations Council of Zambia. They are wonderful.
I actually interacted with Mr. Suru, who presented the governance subject. And I told him that governance is changing. And everything is changing, even when you look at our assessment methods. Because right now we are looking at experience vis-a-vis the academic qualifications. And the presentation was very clear. You need the academic qualifications, but at the same time, above all, you need the experience to deliver to the learners in our respective countries.
There were 3 keynote addresses that were delivered at the 38th AEAA Conference. These were by Professor Sarah Hoey, Professor David Sani Mwanza, and Professor Nikki Roberts.
So we are again geared to listen to the first keynote address this morning.
So the education and learning systems are facing critique from several quarters that the education and learning systems are failing to keep up with the change of pace of change. So currently, when we talk about the 21st century competencies, to what extent have our examinations on the continent responded to ideas around 21st century competencies? And do they consider or reflect the knowledge, skills, attitudes, values and ethics inherent in what, for example, the ways of working?
Most examination practices have created a pattern which are easily mastered and leads to selective teaching and selective learning. And I think my overall persuasion here is that I think we need as examiners to discontinue this continuity, the patterns. Let's discontinue the patterns, because if examination can make teachers engage into selective teaching and the learners into selective reading, then examination has the power to discontinue that type of pattern and to discontinue the negative response that learners and teachers have towards this.
The language and literacy standards take the assumption that home language is an African language and that English is a first additional language, which is the way in which the teachers in our primary schools operate. So the key knowledge that we want primary school teachers to have is knowledge of language and literacy and how to teach learners to read and write in an African language and in English. From a practice point of view, they need to be able to organize systemic language and literacies instruction, which focus on reading and writing, guided by the requirements of the curriculum.
The association honors the former director and chief executive officer, Mr. Newton Mutanekelwa, with the 2022 Association for Educational Assessment in Africa Award in recognition with his contribution to the growth and development of the education assessment systems in Zambia, Southern Africa, and on the continent of Africa and also globally.
I present this to you on behalf of the association, on behalf of the good people and government of the Republic of Zambia, on behalf of the good people of the continent of Africa, on behalf of the progressively minded people of the world. The world is today a global village. Sir, hold your head high. Congratulations.
What has happened today to me, I'm very overwhelmed. I did not expect this to happen, but it has happened. So it has given me a very rejuvenating feeling. I feel once again rejuvenated and considering myself to say, maybe there is still use in me. Therefore, I'm still ready to be used.
During the conference, a number of companies, both local and international, that offer digital solutions to the challenges of the delivery of quality education and assessment were present to display their products and engaged with the delegates during the conference.
We're a specialist security printing company protecting customers' integrity and brand from counterfeiting and forgery, upholding their brand protection.
We are into examination papers printing and end-to-end solution related to examination processes.
The company has been producing question papers for various examination boards and councils in sub-Saharan Africa for many years and is delighted to be here at the AEAA in Zambia in 2022.
During the closure of the 38th AEAA Conference, a communique was presented by Dr. Michael Chilala, the Executive Secretary of the AEAA, who is also Director of the Examinations Council of Zambia. The communique was then proposed by the CEO of Umaluse and seconded by the CEO of NAPSERV Nigeria for adoption as the official document that came out of the 38th AEAA Conference. Ms. Noriana Muneku, Permanent Secretary of Administration from Ministry of Education, graced the closing of the conference. She encouraged the delegates to put into practice what they had learned from the conference.
It is with great honor and pleasure that I stand and speak to you, dignified delegates, on the occasion of the closure of this 38th Conference of the Association for Education Assessment in Africa, whose theme is Educational Assessment for Developing 21st Century Skills. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gratified as a Ministry of Education in charge of, indeed, all our learners in the country, to note that the presentations at this conference offered a number of options and recommendations for the education and assessment systems to remain resilient during such experiences as the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, we are pleased to note that a number of companies that are offering digital solutions to the challenges of the delivery of quality education and assessment were present to display their products, and engage with the delegates during the conference. It is my sincere hope that you have gained some insight on best practices that may enhance research and development in your organizations as a conduit towards improvement on your assessment. This is important because governments of countries in Africa and beyond need information arising from such research and assessment activities to make evidence-based decisions that will cause their education system to remain relevant and current with the demands of the society. But I have to hasten here and re-emphasize, and I know other speakers have talked about it, it will be rhetoric and an academic exercise if you go back and just put everything that you've learned into your drawers. You need to walk the talk and be able to ensure that everything that you've harnessed from this conference becomes a reality. And if you do that, no doubt there will be development in our educational sector.
The delegates were treated to some time to enjoy game viewing, where they saw different types of animals, whilst others preferred to visit the reptile farm to interact with snakes, chameleons, and sea crocodiles up close, and others went to the Livingstone Museum. Throughout the conference, delegates were treated to Zambian dishes through dinners, which were also worked as networking events. The dinners were hosted at the Havani Resort Lawn, Boma, and the gala in the Marquee. Dressed elegantly, delegates enjoyed delicious meals and danced away the evening to a variety of music genre and cultural performances. It can therefore be concluded that in less than 6 months of preparations, the 38th AEAA Conference was successfully held in the tourist town of Zambia, Livingstone.